I pulled a dusty storage box out of my parents' attic and found my name on letters in a stranger's handwriting. In 7 minutes, that box turned my last name into a question and then into something bigger. Okay, sit with me for a second. I'm in my childhood house, socks on hardwood, hair in a messy bun that's already falling, because of course it is. My mom had just had some minor shoulder surgery, so I volunteered to clean out the attic, the one that has the smell of cedar chips and that unidentified piney smell that all attics have forever. My dad was like, just get rid of anything that looks like it's tax-related from the 80s, and then he'd immediately say, but don't get rid of anything important. Classic. It was the sort of Sunday afternoon that's more in a blanket than a day. There was soup on the stove. My dad was off-key whistling to Brown-Eyed Girl in the kitchen downstairs. He thinks he can do the high bits, but he can't, and my mom kept calling up, "Are you sure you're all right up there?" while simultaneously handing over folded paper bags through the attic hatch like a raccoon of high import. I did grow up in the house. I could probably blindfold myself and walk through it. I know all the squeaky steps, all the marks on the baseboards from when we'd slide laundry baskets down the hall. My parents and I were close. Not great, but close. They're the ones who sat on the edge of my bed through middle school breakups and high school musicals. My mom's the type of person who makes letter pancakes on your first day of school. My dad leaves goofy notes in the glove compartment for me to find when I'm nervous, like for a driving test. We lean on each other. That's my normal. But there were always these tiny moments that didn't add up. Nothing major. Just little things that, if you prodded at them, were a little tender. Like how, when we all brought in our family photos for that genealogy project in 5th grade, I was the only kid who didn't have a baby footprint card. The hospital didn't give us one, my mom said, shrugging like, "What are you gonna do?" Or how my birthday was always this subdued, gentle day, even when I begged for raucous parties. My mom would get this faraway look when the cake was served, like she was gazing at a film and I wasn't quite in the frame. And then there were the health forms for college. Any family history of allergies? Diabetes? Heart? Anything? I asked, pen ready. My parents exchanged a glance so quick I almost didn't catch it. "No big deal," my dad said. "You're okay." I waved it off, as they are private people, and maybe it was just me reading too much into everything. You know how your head can do that? All right, so the attic. I'm crawling around with a headlamp, pulling out boxes labeled Zmaz Lights, Kids Art, Do Not Open Ever, which is totally tempting, I have to say, and then I find this generic plastic storage bin tucked behind the crib mattress. It wasn't dusty in the same way all the other stuff was, like someone had cleaned it off recently and then hidden it again. I set it on the floorboards and sat cross-legged, like a kid at story time, anxiously nibbling on the corner of the lid with my thumb. And I wish I could tell you that I had some deep instinct that this was going to change everything, but I didn't. I was hoping for more of my awful 2nd grade watercolor paintings or a stack of outdated Christmas cards from neighbors we don't talk to anymore. But instead, I opened it and found letters. Stacks of them, tied with thin twine that had made its impression on the paper. The envelopes were all the same creamy color, worn but not disintegrating. I knew the moment I touched them that they were genuine. Heavy with the kind of ink that only occurs when someone sits down and means it. The outer envelope said, in small, neat handwriting, for Lila. Open when you are 18. My name, Lila. But not my mom's bubbly script or my dad shouting all caps. Another person's handwriting. On the back, a date. June 17th, 2007. My 18th birthday. I didn't open it. I just gazed. Then I looked down and I saw more. To Lila, 19. To Lila, 20. Some had little hearts next to the year, like someone couldn't help themselves. Some were just dates. And below those, more letters, but these were to a person named Jenna. Those were in my mom's handwriting. I was holding a pile of letters that weren't part of the life I believed I knew. My heart adopted that syncopated, out-of-breath rhythm you experience when you are about to audition or make a phone call you have been procrastinating. I felt a little bit like I was standing on a boat dock and a wave had struck the posts hard enough for me to feel the wobble. I whispered, "What is this?" to no one. I looked up at the attic opening, like my parents were suddenly going to pull themselves up there and be like, "Oh, those? Those are just coupons." They didn't. The house hummed. The heater kicked in. The smell of pine and dust sounded louder. I carried the box over to the little section of attic with the little window where the sun makes the dust sparkle and sat back down. I took a deep breath. I opened the first letter, the one to 18-year-old me, the girl with blowout candles and a graduation cap and no idea. The flap opened with a quiet, sticky sigh. There was a piece of folded paper inside, worn soft from being opened and closed by hands that weren't mine. Lila. Hello. If you're reading this, then you're 18, which means I did what I said I would do, and your parents did what they said they would do as well. You have been loved your entire life. I hope you enjoy music. I hope you still make that little squeak noise when you're happy. I only got to hear it once, but it's been playing in my mind for 18 years. I'm your first mom. I love you. I loved you before you even had a name. I had to pause there. The words on the page blurred. The attic itself suddenly seemed to have shrunk and grown at the same time, like it was a balloon somebody was trying to blow up and let all the air out in the same breath. First mom. The ink didn't shriek it. It just sat there, silent, like it had always been fact and was just waiting for me to catch up. I smoothed out the paper with my 2 palms, as though I could force all the air back in. She went on. I held you for 7 minutes. 7. That's how many I counted. Your hair was darker than I'd imagined, but the soft place at the back of your head was just the way I'd pictured. Your dad, your forever dad, told me a joke in my ear to try to make me smile when I couldn't stop crying, and your mom held my hand and made a promise to say your name out loud every single day. We made the decision that I would write to you on your birthdays, and they would keep the letters until you were ready. If you are reading this, then today is the day that I decided you could know it all, and I hope it is not too much. I wanted to be ready, but I wasn't. I didn't have a job that could save us both. I didn't have a house that I could claim as mine. And you have family, 2 people with steady hands and pancake Sundays. That felt right. That was love, too. In case you ever need to find me, my address is here. If you don't, I'll always be grateful I knew you in the exact way I did, for exactly 7 minutes. I love you. I love you. I love you. Jenna. My mom called up the stairs, a gentle, "Do you need water?" as if she could sense that the inside of my mouth had dried out. I didn't respond. I was hanging by a thread. I shoved the letter back into its envelope. My fingers left tiny dark smudges on the creamy paper. My skin always gets sweaty when I'm anxious. It's a thing, and this weird protective instinct kicked in, like, don't smudge. Don't spoil something that has survived this long. I picked up the next one. For Lila, 19. That one was about how she hoped I was making friends at college. That she liked to think I had a messy room and sticky notes on everything. That she heard the same song repeatedly on my birthdays and baked a small cake just for me. I could picture her, this stranger, in some kitchen somewhere, belting out at the top of her lungs to no one and blowing out a candle for someone she could only dream up. I pressed my thumb into the date. 2008. I was 19 in a dorm room with ugly cinder block walls and a roommate who labeled her yogurts. I was 19 and thought love was a string you could tie around your wrist and never lose. And somewhere, someone was whispering my name over a cake I never got to eat. Below those were the letters my mother had written to Jenna. I knew her handwriting better than I knew my own. I had watched it sign permission slips and scribble grocery lists and write my name in the lining of my raincoat. The first one read, Jenna, she's okay. She's perfect. She adores car rides. She does this thing where she touches her left ear when she's tired. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The later ones contained information. Kindergarten, first spelling test, the cat I received senior year and returned because he hated me. And then, in one, between announcements of braces and band concerts, a sentence that was like a pebble in my shoe. We're thinking maybe it's time to keep this just in our family now. It's confusing for her. It's hard for us. I did not know what to do with that sentence. It was fair and unfair simultaneously. It made me defensive and protective and sympathetic. It made me 27 and 18 and 7 all at once. I closed the box and laid my forehead on my knees. It was as though my bones were looking for new homes inside of me. I recalled when individuals would say, with that welcoming small talk eagerness, "You don't resemble your mom," and I would chuckle and say, "No, I'm surely adopted," in a joking manner. Since that is something one says, correct? And now I was here with a heap of unjokes. I rewatched each birthday. My mom's face near the candlelight. The way she'd hold her breath a beat longer than the rest of us before clapping. My dad enveloping me in hugs that were like he was attempting to anchor me. I recalled the time my health teacher did that blood type thing and I volunteered that confident nonsense, and my parents just exchanged that look. I recalled the family tree I made in the 5th grade that had half of the branches as fictional because I did not know what else to fill in, and Mrs. James said, "You have the most interesting names in your family," and I took it as a compliment. The attic suddenly wasn't big enough. I needed air. I tried to tuck the letters in as well as I could, the ribbon not folding quite the same way, as if it knew. Then I got up and carried the box over to the ladder and called, "Dad." He popped his head up, eyes narrowed, not yet worried. "Yeah, can you come up here?" He climbed, slow because his knees popped like popcorn now, and when he got to a level where he could see what I had, something in his face shifted. Just for a second. Like a wind had blown through him that he was trying to pretend wasn't there. "Oh," he said, soft. Then louder, "Mara, that's my mom. You should come up." She appeared a few seconds later, one hand on the rung because of her shoulder, and then she saw the box. Her eyes landed on it the way your eyes land on a person you love in a crowded room, that immediate, unconscious pull. She reached out and then caught herself. "Where did you find that?" she said. "In the back," I said. "Under the crib mattress." My dad stroked his jaw with his thumb in the way he always does when he doesn't know what to do with his hands. "Honey," he said to me, "we have to go talk downstairs." We sat at the kitchen table I've sat around for a lifetime of meals. The soup cooked quietly on the stove, completely unimpressed by the emotional drama taking place beside it. The sun was doing that forgiving, gold thing. My mother folded and refolded the corner of a paper napkin. I could feel the skin under my eyes getting puffy. I didn't feel exactly angry. I felt everything. I felt like if you shook me, I'd ring. "Am I adopted?" I said, and my voice did something I didn't like. It got small. My mom nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. And then, "I'm sorry we didn't tell you sooner." My dad put his hand on the table between us, palm up. "It's a big hand. I know it like I know my own." He said, "We wanted to. We planned to tell you at 18. We really did. We had it in our calendar and everything." He let out a half pain, half laugh breath. "And then 18 came and you were getting ready for college and your grandfather became sick and you were stressing about leaving and we thought, let's wait. Let's find a good time." The good time kept moving and changing, my mother said. And then it gotta be this thing. This secret we were juggling like a fragile plate, as though if we tipped it the wrong way, it would ruin our family. Which is absurd, because the plate was already part of our family. I don't know. I'm not explaining it right. "No, you are," I said, even though my head was still a scrambled egg. "Why'd you keep the letters?" "We made Jenna a promise," my mom said. "We swore to keep them safe and hand them over to you when you were 18. She wanted you to have her words. We wanted that too. We vowed to write her updates for a while. Then we floundered. It was hard. It made me," she swallowed. "It made me feel like I was giving pieces of you to someone else. That isn't fair to Jenna. That isn't fair to you. But I'm being honest. It was complicated. We never wanted to hide anything from you," my dad said in the voice he uses when he's trying to build a bridge, brick by brick. "We just got scared. We were selfish in a way and protective in another way. We were wrong to wait." "Is she?" I started and then didn't know which she I meant. My mom looked at me and I think she knew just fine. "Is Jenna okay?" "As far as we know," my mom said. "She moved away a while ago. We lost addresses and got them back again. We got a letter when you were 21 that we didn't open. It's in the box." "You didn't open it?" "It wasn't ours," my dad said. I laughed a little because the world will see to it that you get a bit of absurdity even when everything hurts. "I opened it," I said. "Well, not that one, but the 18 one. And 19. I opened the rules." My mother leaned across the table slowly, as though she were approaching a scared bird. "We love you," she said. "We've always loved you in every way a person loves." "I know," I said, and I did know. With the same bone-deep certainty, I knew how to walk the house in the dark. This doesn't change that. This just adds. We just sat there, total silence for a minute. The kind where all you can hear is people breathing and no one knows where to look. I stared at the bowl of fruit that was placed in the middle of the table and thought about how I was going to have to learn the way light falls on my past again. "I need time," I said. "I want to read them. I want to know her as much as you can know a person through paper." "Of course," my mom said. "We'll sit with you, or we'll go for a walk, or we'll leave the house and eat ice cream in the car while you read. Whatever you want." My dad said, "I'll make tea." He stood up like getting tea was a task he had been training for. He opened the cabinet and pulled down the mugs, and for one moment, everything was so normal it almost broke me more. The way he knocked the kettle lid by mistake. The way my mom sighed when he did. The ordinary noises of our life continued, even as my insides were reforming. That evening, after they'd retired to bed, I sat alone at the kitchen table with the box. The house groaned at night. The fridge rumbled. The little clock above the stove ticked away like a zealous metronome. I took out the letters and stacked them in order, 18 through 27. And then the one that was addressed to me, but without an age. In that one, Jenna wrote, "If you're reading this on a day that hurts, I want you to know I felt days like that too. There is room in your life for both missing and joy. One doesn't cancel out the other. I wept the way you weep when you thought maybe you were out of tears, but you absolutely are not. I wept quietly, as the household slept, and rather loudly, as sometimes sound does make a difference. I wept for the girl who blew out candles while her first mom did the same miles away. I wept for my parents and their fear. I wept for the me who told adoption jokes and the me who would need to have a different joke now. And I did something small and maybe foolish. I wrote a letter. To Jenna. On some lined paper from the junk drawer, because of course my mom saves every loose pad the dry cleaner sends her way. I wrote, "Hello, it's me. I'm late to the party and also right on time. I enjoy music. I make the squeak when I laugh, apparently. I have 2 people who make pancakes on Sundays, and I have a feeling there's a third person somewhere who's been whispering my name over a birthday candle for years. Thank you. I don't know what else to say yet, but thank you." I folded it and put it on top of the others. It wasn't an address or a plan. It was a beginning. The next morning, I woke up with the puffy, feeling heavy face and went for a walk before my parents were up. The air was cool in the way that makes your lungs feel like they're getting cleaned. The sky had the pale blue gradient that looks artificial. I walked by the mailbox I used to hang from when I was a kid and the neighbor's yard where we built lopsided snowmen and the tree in front of our house that I used to measure myself against. I thought about roots. They don't have a choice in the dirt. They just do their best to soak it up and grow. Sometimes they reach rocks and move around them. They sometimes split and form 2 limbs where before there was one. They're still the tree. I entered to find my parents seated at the kitchen table, their hands clasped across the surface of the newspaper, a tableau of silence I wished I could have transported Jenna into, if only so she could see it for herself. My mom's eyes were already welling up as she glanced up. My dad cleared his throat. "I want to read them with you," I said. "And some of them by myself. I want to take them home. I want to maybe find her. Not today, but someday." "Okay," my mom said. "We'll walk every step you need us to walk, and we'll sit for every step you need to take on your own." My father reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out one of his crumpled notes. He shoved it across the table. It said, "You're exactly ours, exactly hers, exactly you." The kind of sentence that would have annoyed me if I weren't feeling so raw. But at the moment, it landed like a warm washcloth. We ate pancakes. We wished happiest of birthdays to nobody in particular. And later that week, in my apartment, I ritualized it for myself. I read one letter each Friday night. I let it be a thing. No rush. Sometimes I called my parents afterwards and recited to them what it had said, and we cried together. Sometimes I just sat with it. I noticed how Jenna's handwriting changed over the years, how the curves in her Y's loosened, as if she was breathing better. I noticed how my mom's voice in the early letters was trembling with nerves and appreciation, and in the later ones it was steadier, but with those pebble sentences that you cannot ignore. The midpoint, if my life were a film, would be of me sitting at my kitchen table with the 21st letter open, the one that they never read. Jenna said, "I tried to say goodbye to you in a million ways that didn't sound like goodbye. I stopped writing for a while because I didn't know if it was helping you or only me." That letter had an address on it, and a phone number, and a PS. "Even if you don't ever call, I'll always be the one who wants you to know she loves you. No matter what." The slow collapse was not the sobs at my parents' table. It was the quiet moments, days later, when I'd be waiting in line at the supermarket and catch a glimpse of my face in the freezer door and hear this gentle echo, "First Mom." It was the way a song would come on the radio and I'd think, does she sing this in her car too? It was looking down at my carrot-cutting hands and feeling a rush of missing for someone I'd never officially met. Your body can miss someone it's never touched. Did you know that? I didn't. It's a weird, stretchy kind of missing. It lives under your ribs. And on the other side of that, on the side that feels like the light in my parents' kitchen that afternoon, was this realization that feels almost simple now. I am not either slash or. I am both slash and. I am pancake Sundays and a woman in another city blowing out a candle for me. I am my dad's corny jokes and my mom's lists and Jenna's careful, looping letters. I am the way my parents loved me with fear and Jenna loved me with distance. I don't have to choose a story. It can all be true. I didn't phone immediately. I'm not there yet. I did write a longer letter. I mailed it to the most recent address, although I don't know if it's still hers. I put a photo of me holding a mug that has a cat on it because she mentioned in the 22 letter that she's into cats, and I was like, let's give her something genuine and pure. I wrote, "You don't need to apologize to me for anything. I'm figuring out how to bear all of this, and I hope you're doing all right. I'll be all right." And I informed my parents when I sent it. My mom hugged me and said, "Thank you for letting me be in the room with your story now. The real room, not the one we made up." My dad said, "When you're ready to make the call, I'll sit with you in silence and not speak. It'll be really hard on me, but I'll do it." We laughed. You can laugh during the middle of a thing and still respect the thing. That's something else I learned. So yeah, I found a secret storage box of letters my parents never meant for me to read, or at least never knew how to show to me, and it opened the surface of my life. But it didn't break it. It made room. It enabled me to love more, ask better questions, and write my own letter back. If you're sitting there in the middle of the night with the light off and your phone too close to your face, and you have a box somewhere with a ribbon you're too afraid to untie, I'm not going to tell you to do it anyway. I'm going to tell you, you're allowed to want both the box and the ribbon. You're allowed to ask for a hand to open it. You can have pancakes the next morning and label it a celebration when it still stings a little. Your story can hold all that uncertain, and hey, if you've experienced something like this, I'd like to hear about it in the comments. And if this story resonated with you even in some way, don't be shy about liking, subscribing, and ringing that bell.